Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Bhakta
Vrinda.
Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya
Jaya
Shri
Shri
Chaitanya
Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Gana
Jaya Jaya Sri Vasadi
Vasadi
Gaura
Gaura
Bhakta Gana.
Bhakta.
Shakti Deha Kore Yena Chaitanya Varnana
Shakti
Deha Kore
Chaitanya
Chaitanya Varnana.
Jaya Jaya Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Gana
Jaya Jaya Sri Vasadi Gaura
Gaura
Bhakta
Bhakta
Gana.
Dana.
Shakti Deha Kore Yena Chaitanya Varnana.
Shakti Dehi Kore.
So today, what I'm going to do is when I recite the verses, please don't repeat the verse. What I'll have is I'll ask for volunteers to read the verses. I'm going to share this presentation with you, one PowerPoint presentation. Are you all able to see now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So in verses 57 and 58, Kaviraj Goswami says that now to enjoy this rasa, they have appeared in one body as Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And what he's going to do now, he says, therefore I shall first explain the position of Radha and Krishna. And by doing that, he says that by hearing that description, the glory of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be known. So once he describes the real position of Radha and Krishna, then we will understand or appreciate fully the glory of Lord Chaitanya. So he's going to give us a whole background, context, explanation of who Srimati Radharani is and how she's related to Krishna. So in 59, who would like to read this verse 59?
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Radhika hayena Krishna pranaya vikara swarupa shakti haladini nama yahara.
Thank you, Prabhu. Srimati Radhika is a transformation of Krishna's love. Radhika hoina Krishnera pranaya vikar. And she is the Swarup Shakti. She is the eternal, internal potency, energy called Ladini. That is her name. And what does this potency do? It gives Krishna pleasure. Ladini Koraya Krishna Ananda Asvatana Ladini Radwara Kore Bhaktira Poshana. So this energy, it gives Krishna pleasure. And what does it do along with that? It nourishes the devotees. Bhaktira Poshan. And in the purports, there are about 7 or 8 very comprehensive purports that Prabhupada has explained many of these points, especially what are the 3 components of Krishna's internal energy and what is Shuddha Sattva. So we will first try and understand what this pleasure potency is, Aladini Shakti, from the different points that Srila Prabhupada has given. So the first points that Srila Prabhupada makes is that the Lord can only be attracted or is only attracted by what? Is only attracted by pure devotional service, right? By devotional service. And this is explained by Jiva Goswami in his Priti Sandarbha. And we hear in the Gita, we hear in the Bhagavatam, we hear so many different statements by Krishna himself, where he says that I can only be known by devotional service. And he declares that in the Bhagavad Gita, he declares that in the Bhagavatam. There are many, many verses that explain or in which Krishna asserts that it's only possible to know me by devotional service. Bhakta mam abhijanati. Krishna says at the end of the Gita in chapter 18. And in chapter 11 also Krishna says that only by undeviated devotional service, by pure devotional service, can I be known. And here, if you look at these few lines by Srila Jiva Goswami, these are translations of the Sanskrit verses that Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, only devotional service can help a devotee meet the Supreme Lord face to face. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is attracted by devotional service, and as such, the ultimate supremacy of Vedic knowledge rests in knowing the science of devotional service. Now again in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vedescha sarve, what does he say? Aham eva vedyam. And this is the ultimate purpose of the Vedas, to know Krishna. And how can we know Krishna? Only through devotional service. So if we know the science of devotional service, that's the only way to know Krishna. Now Prabhupada raises one important question. He says that now the Supreme Lord, right? So what is the particular attraction that makes the Supreme Lord enthusiastic to accept devotional service? And what is the nature of this service? So why is Krishna so attracted or enthusiastic to accept this pure bhakti? And Prabhupada explains that God is self-sufficient. He's Atma Rama. And Maya cannot touch him. Right? He cannot be influenced at all by Maya. So the potency or the energy that attracts the Lord or overcomes the Lord, it cannot be material. It has to be purely spiritual. And that potency cannot have any material tinge. It cannot be anything of the material manifestation. So the bliss or the happiness that Krishna enjoys through these exchanges of devotional service, they cannot have any material composition. And so what is this potency that enables Krishna to exchange this loving relationships with the devotees and to taste this bliss? And this is the Ladini potency. So it's described that Krishna's internal potency has three components. One is Sandhini, one is Samvit, and the third one is Ladini. And we are discussing the Ladini potency first because this is what's given here in the beginning. And this is the personal manifestation of the blissfulness of the Supreme Personality of God by which he enjoys pleasure. So Krishna, being the Supreme Person, how is he going to enjoy? What is it that is going to excite him? How is he going to taste the bliss or taste, happiness? So he does that. How does he do it? He does that through this energy called the Ladini potency. And what is this potency? He says that the Ladini potency gives the Lord all transcendental pleasure, and the Lord bestows such a potency upon his pure devotee. And he says that love of God is the epithet, which is basically, it means that love of God is the phrase for the pleasure potency of the Lord. Therefore, devotional service reciprocated between the Lord and his devotee is an exhibition of the transcendental pleasure potency of the Lord. So this is the energy that is giving Krishna happiness and is enabling the pure exchange of love between Krishna and his devotees. This is the potency through which Krishna experiences pleasure. So when the question is asked that how does God experience pleasure, he experiences this pleasure through his own internal transcendental potency called Ladini. And this potency is perpetually present in the Supreme Lord. And therefore Prabhupada says, the theory of the impersonalists that the Lord appears in material goodness cannot be accepted. So the point Prabhupada is making that the Lord always rests between his internal potency. So it is not that he has to take a form that is transformed by the mode of goodness. No, he's always within this transcendental potency. And when this pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is exhibited by his grace in the person of a devotee, then that results in the experience of the love of God. So unless we are graced by this potency, we cannot experience complete love for God. So the grace of this potency is required. Last time we discussed that when and who is the personification of this pleasure potency? Who is the personification?
Radha
Rani.
Yes. And so when Radha Rani bestows her blessings, then only we can experience love of God. So the product of...
Sorry, Prabhuji.
Let me finish.
Yes, Prabhuji.
The product of the Ladini Shakti is love of Godhead. And that also manifests in two ways: pure love of God and adulterated love of Godhead. So how is it adulterated? In the material world, when it is adulterated by the external material energy, it does not attract Krishna. And what happens? The living entity becomes attracted by the glamour of the material energy. and the reverse happens. So instead of loving Krishna and becoming mad with the love of God, the living being becomes mad after material sense enjoyment. And then what happens? He's captivated by these interactions and experiences distressful and happy feelings. Okay. So when this potency is perverted by the external energy, or it is manifested in a perverted form in the material world, right? When we are attracted to different partners. So this is the adulterated form or perverted form of the Ladini Shakti. Prabhupada is writing in the purport. And then when we are pure and we become free from the modes of material nature, then this potency touches us and we're completely filled with the love of God. So this is Krishna's own internal energy which gives him pleasure. This is how he enjoys pleasure. He doesn't take recourse of anything external. And now we will understand more that how the personification of this potency, how does that act? Okay. And how does it expand the pleasure of Krishna? Or how does she expand the pleasure of Krishna, the personification of this potency, Srimati Radharani, which will be discussed after a few verses, we'll discuss that. So now you can ask your question, Madhavi Mataji.
So Prabhuji, as you said, Krishna is complete in himself. He don't need anyone else for enjoyment because he's Atmaram. But because Radharani is non-different from Krishna, so he expands himself as another form to enjoy with him. Because both are one.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, that's what I just wanted to clarification. Whatever I'm understanding is correct.
So how is Krishna Atmarama? Because he doesn't, his own potency is giving him pleasure. So he doesn't have to seek anything outside. So Atmarama doesn't mean that he is, in a state of stillness, like, the impersonal concept, that he's doing nothing. He's Atmarama. Atmarama means what? That he doesn't have to seek pleasure outside of himself. Okay. By his own internal energy, his ability, his potency, he's experiencing bliss. Can you or I do that? We can't. Okay, so Atmarama doesn't mean that, he is not doing anything. He's still, he's in he's completely in a subdued state. No, he's active. But he's active with his own personal energy. Okay. Through his own personal energy, he is doing so many, engaged in so many different activities, having different exchanges. Who's confused here? You can raise your hands. Any doubts here? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Sorry, Sumit Prabhu, you can.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so Prabhuji, I had one question that Aladini Shakti is for Krishna. Then in point number 3, it confuses me a bit that when it gets adulterated by the external or material energy, then
Yes.
it becomes So this is a bit of confusing. If Aladini Shakti is for Krishna and Krishna is enjoying that, then how it can get adulterated?
Yeah, so it's one energy. Right? In the spiritual world, it is Yoga Maya. Right? And in the material world, it manifests at Mahamaya. So it's the same energy, but it's acting in a different way. Right? So we are getting the perverted reflection of the Ladini Shakti in the material world. So our propensity to love, you know, to have to enjoy love in a material way in this material world is a perverted reflection of that original Aladini Shakti of the Lord. Are you understanding that?
Yeah, got it.
Prabhuji, I also got confused on the same line. So when this Shakti is Krishna's internal potency, then how does it get adulterated? Is it just the word which is confusing me, or
It's, so in one sense, it can't get adulterated, but it's reflected in an adulterated way, okay, in the material world. So Prabhupada is writing, this is from the purport, he says, but when the same Aladini Shakti is adulterated by the external material energy and emanates from the living being. So you can say that it's reflected in an adulterated way in the material world. Okay.
Prabhuji, can we also understand it in this way that the bhakti which is done by the living entities is
Yes.
actually the expansion of Ladini Shakti, but when this bhakti is done in gunas, in three gunas, so that kind of bhakti doesn't attract Krishna. It is only when it is unadulterated, then it becomes attractive to Krishna. Can we
Yes,
understand this? Okay.
that's also a very good point. That uh, when our bhakti is covered by the three modes, that is not completely pure, then um, then that's the same effect, right? That the pure loving potency is covered, it is adulterated. Okay. See, in the fourth point, Prabhupada saying because of his association with the qualitative modes of material nature. So even though we may be practicing bhakti, but we're not completely free from the influences of the modes of material nature. Our bhakti is mixed. It is adulterated by the three modes. So the more and more we become pure and transcendental and free from the modes of material nature, then the Ladini Shakti manifests itself in its full force, in its pure form. Okay, thank you, Rasikesha Prabhu. So we can move on.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So in this verse now, in 62, now Kaviraj Goswami, he tells us what this internal potency is made of. It's made of three components. Ladini, which is the aspect of bliss, Sandhini, eternal existence, and Samvit, of cognizance, right, which is also accepted as knowledge. So we will discuss the other two components of the internal potency now, so that we are clear what those two are for. And this is a verse from the Vishnu Puran, again, that is asserting that that the Lord is the support of everything, and the three attributes, Ladini, Sandhini, and Samvit, they exist in the Lord as one spiritual energy. And the material modes which cause happiness, misery, and the mixtures of two do not exist in you, for you have no material qualities. So again, the Vishnu Puran 1:12:69 is making that clear that Krishna cannot be touched or influenced by the material modes. He's completely within, his existence is within his own internal potency, which is completely transcendental. And that is an atmosphere described as the Shuddha Sattva, which we will discuss in these next few verses. So in 64, Kaviraj Goswami gives the essence of the Sandhini potency. He says, Sandhini rasar amsa shuddha sattva nama Bhagwane rasatta hoy jahate vishrama. The essential portion of the Sandhini potency is Shuddha Sattva. Lord Krishna's existence rests upon it. So what is this Shuddha Sattva? What is this Sandhini potency? It's explained that Krishna's mother, father, abode, house, bedding, seats, and so on are all transformations of Shuddha Sattva. So all of Krishna's associates, his paraphernalia, they are all transformations of the internal potency. And this is again from the Bhagavatam. This is a beautiful verse from the Bhagavatam, again explaining that what is this condition of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness, in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead is revealed without any covering. And that state is called Vasudev. So it's described, this beautiful verse, I'll try to recite it. Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudev Shabditam Yat Yate Tatra Puman Apavrita Sattve Cha Tasmin Bhagavan Vasudevo Yadhojame Manasa Pritiyate. So this is from the Bhagavatam, and it's spoken by Lord Shiva in the 4th canto, 3rd chapter, verse number 23. And in this, he's revealing that how can the Lord be understood? How can the Lord be perceived? He's beyond the material senses and is known as Vasudev. So he can be only perceived in this condition of pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva. And Prabhupada writes many different things in the purports, which I have tried to consolidate here. He says that the transcendental potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by which he maintains his existence, is called Sandhini. So how does he maintain his internal existence? The Lord maintains his eternal existence through this energy. And Krishna is always all spiritual. And aside from the parents of the personality of Godhead, all the other paraphernalia are also essentially a manifestation of the Sandhini Shakti. And this Shakti also is responsible for creating different types of variety in the spiritual world. So the spiritual world is not just some dull existence, but it's full of different variety. The atmosphere is surcharged with so much variety. Varieties of people, varieties of nature, varieties of paraphernalia, varieties of exchanges. And that's why we see in the kingdom of God, the Lord has servants, maidservants, consorts, his father, everything else. And this is all, these are all transformations of the Sandhini Shakti. And similarly, this Shakti, right, also expands all the variety of the material cosmos from which we can have a glimpse of the spiritual field. Okay. So even the variety that we see, right, in this world, that also is an expansion of this potency. But again, because it is covered by the modes of material nature, so here everything is temporary, right? Everything it comes into existence and then deteriorates and finally comes to an end. But that is not the case in the material, in the spiritual world. And Prabhupada writes that all these three potencies, the total exhibition of these three potencies is called Vishuddha Sattva, the platform of pure goodness or pure spiritual variegatedness. And when the Lord comes, he's within this energy, even when he comes in the material world. It's not that he's influenced by the modes in the material world. So Prabhupada writes, the pastimes and manifestations of the Lord in the material world are therefore not at all material. They belong to the pure transcendental state. And when we understand this, the next point that Prabhupada makes, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, Evam Yo Veti Tattvataha. So this is a translation of this verse from the 4th chapter, that only when we understand the transcendental nature of the Lord's appearance, activities, and disappearance, then we become eligible for freedom from material bondage. Tyakta devam punarjanma naeti mameti sarjuna. So then we quit this present temporary tabernacle, Prabhupada says, the present material world. So a living entity situated in the state of pure goodness can understand the form, qualities, and other features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when does Krishna consciousness actually begin? When we are completely free from the modes of material nature and we are on the platform of this pure goodness. Although there is a faint realization of Krishna at first, Krishna is actually realized as Vasudev, the absolute proprietor of omnipotence or the prime predominating deity of all potencies. Then only in this form, in this state, Vishuddha Sattva, we can perceive the form, quality, and other features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How? Through our service attitude. Prabhupada writes, the state of pure goodness is a platform of understanding, for the Lord is always in spiritual existence. So if you want to understand the Lord, we can't understand him as long as we are covered by the three modes. And even the mode of goodness in this material world, right, there are tinges of passion and ignorance, and that's why it's called Mishra Sattva. Firstly, goodness is very rare in this world, and even if it is there, there's always a threat of it being mixed with passion and ignorance. And this Vishuddha Sattva is therefore the proper atmosphere in which to experience the personality of Godhead and his transcendental pastimes. Okay. So this is his Sandhini potency of the Lord. Any questions on this?
So, Prabhuji, you mentioned that Krishna consciousness begins when we start doing devotion in the state of goodness. And currently, we are not in goodness. I mean, some portion of the day we are in goodness. So, we are not into Krishna consciousness. That means?
So when, so you have to take the words, you have to take it in a comprehensive way. So what Prabhupada is saying, when he's saying Krishna conscious, that is pure Krishna consciousness.
Okay, Prabhuji.
So there is Krishna consciousness also in practice. It's not pure completely, but that is also Krishna consciousness. But when,
Okay, so Krishna consciousness is also of two types, pure and impure.
yeah, definite. There's different stages of Krishna consciousness, right? So
Yes,
pure
Prabhuji.
Krishna consciousness. So like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, what does he say? Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na sochati na kangsati. Then he says what? What does he say after that?
ब्रह्मभूत प्रसन्नात्मा न सोचती न काशति मद भक्तिम लभते पर हम कुछ ऐसे कहते हैं.
Yeah, so Mad Bhakti Labhate Param is the fourth line.
Yes,
Anyone
Prabhuji.
know the third line?
ब्रह्मभूत प्रसन्नात्मा न सोचती न समा सर्वेषु भूतेषु मद भक्तिम.
Sama Sarveshu Bhutesu. So there is a type of consciousness that's required.
Yes.
Then Mad Bhakti Labhate Param. So when we are free from the modes, Brahma Bhuta, we have transcended the modes and we are enjoying the experience or the bliss of being materially free from the modes. Then actual bhakti begins. So right now, whatever we are doing is bhakti, but the stage is, what is the stage? It's not a pure stage of bhakti. It's a mixed stage. So usually, sometimes when Prabhupada says bhakti, devotional service, devotee, in many cases he refers to pure devotees, pure bhakti. So it has to be taken in the context that Prabhupada is giving that. So it's not to make us depressed. Oh, we are not engaged in bhakti, or we are totally doing some nonsense. No, it's not like that. Okay, someone else had a question?
Yes. What I want to understand is Prabhuji, say when we are in the mixed sattva, and then we are, going one step further up and up. So, is there any stage in the 9 stages of devotional service which is equivalent to the Vishuddha Sattva?
Yeah, so let me check that, because that only would be like, we see that even in bhav, that a devotee can actually come back again, right, into material consciousness. So prema is definitely in Shuddha Sattva. We see in the case of Bharat Maharaj, right, that he got influenced even at that high stage of Krishna consciousness. So prema is definitely within Shuddha Sattva. Prema cannot be nothing can affect prema bhakti. Okay, when it is pure prema bhakti, the stage of prema is definitely not touched by the three. Yes.
Okay, Prabhuji.
There's one question on the chat. Who's that? Okay. So the next verse that we're going to discuss now, 67. Okay, so we've discussed everything up to 67 now. Now 67, I forgot to copy it, copy it in this PowerPoint slide. By mistake, I copied 68 twice. So 67, Kaviraj Goswami explains what the samvit potency is. So he says, Krishna Bhagavat Jnana Samvitera Sara Brahma Gyan Adika Swabatara Parivara. He says the essence of samvit potency is knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna. So what is the essence of samvit potency? This is the knowledge potency of the Lord. And it is the knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna. And all other kinds of knowledge, such as knowledge of Brahman, are its components. Okay. So everything comes within the jurisdiction of this samvit potency, the knowledge potency. And Prabhupada explains very beautifully in the purport. He says that the activities of samvit Shakti produce the effect of cognition. What does that mean? What is cognition? So this is the process involved in acquiring knowledge and understanding thought, experience, and the senses. Okay. So this is what cognition means. So the way we acquire knowledge, the process of acquiring knowledge and understanding our thoughts, our experience, and the senses, this is cognition. And this is produced by who? By which potency? By the samvit potency of the Lord. And Prabhupada writes that both the Lord and the living entities are cognizant. And Krishna has full knowledge of everything everywhere. And therefore, there are no hindrances to his cognition. He can have knowledge merely by glancing over an object. But unfortunately, we don't have that capacity. And we have many impediments blocking our cognition. That means there are many obstacles that we face in our cognition as ordinary living beings. And Prabhupada writes that, he explains that the living beings have three divisions of cognition or of knowledge. One is direct knowledge, the second is indirect knowledge, and the third is perverted knowledge. So what is perverted knowledge? Srila Prabhupada starts to explain that the sense perception of material objects by mundane senses. So when we are in under the influence of the three modes and we are experiencing, through our senses, material objects, then what happens? That this produces what? This definitely, Prabhupada says, definitely produces perverted knowledge. That means our knowledge is not accurate. It is covered over. So that's why this knowledge is illusory. This illusion is a presentation of the material energy, which is influenced by the samvit Shakti in a perverted manner. Again, this is a perverted reflection of the samvit Shakti. So the illusion that we all are in of perceiving reality with a mundane impure senses and mind and intelligence. And that's how we see things in an inaccurate way. We are completely illusioned, or deluded by the temporary nature of the things. So our knowledge is imperfect. And this is the perverted reflection of the Samvit Shakti. Okay. Again, the Samvit Shakti is not impure in any way, just like the Ladini Shakti or the Sandhini Shakti, but it is reflected in a perverted manner in this material world. Now Prabhupada writes with something really interesting. He says that negative cognition of an object beyond the reach of sense perception is the way of indirect knowledge. So what is indirect knowledge? Can you take a guess? Anyone like to take a guess? What does it mean, indirect knowledge? What is negative cognition? Everyone is getting lost here.
Could it be some experience that we have had earlier? For example, like we give the example of there is a pressure cooker burst which in the other room. So that's the only knowledge we have of our senses. But when we hear something similar or even higher, that's the limit of our senses. So we could have heard an atom bomb sound, but we only have understanding of something like a pressure cooker. Is it something like that, Prabhuji?
Yeah, so it's basically, it's mental speculation. What we're doing is that we're using our own faculty. And what we're doing is negative cognition means that we understand this is illusory, but what is actual reality we are speculating. So by
Is it Mayavadi philosophy, Prabhuji?
Yeah, so what is, see, which Prabhupada writes, which is not altogether imperfect, but which produces only fragmentary knowledge in the form of impersonal spiritual realization and monoism. Okay. So it has some reality. It is not completely imperfect because we are trying to go beyond the mundane reality of our senses. But we are speculating that, okay, this is not real, but maybe this is real, or maybe that is real. And based on our experiences, we are denying, oh, this relationships, for example, they're so um, uh, they're so difficult in this material world, right? So the absolute should be, impersonal, for example. So that is negative cognition. Are you understanding? That we are using.
बंद हो गया मेरी क्लास चल रहे
So we are indirectly trying to perceive the truth, based on our own mental faculties. So Prabhupada says that that only produces what that can only ultimately result in impersonal spiritual realization and monoism. But when the Samvit factor of cognition is enlightened by Ladini potency of the same internal energy, they work together, and thus one can attain the knowledge of the personality of Godhead. So it is when the Samvit potency and the Ladini potency, they combine together, then what happens? We can understand Krishna in full. Okay.
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned that there is some reality in that, in
Yes.
something. So what is the reality? But it's not completely correct. So what is the reality?
So the reality is that I recognize the temporary nature of, say, the material world. But what is the nature of the absolute? I am speculating.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Pursuing the indirect knowledge, we can understand what I feel. Is it correct that not following the scriptures, Vedas, Shastras, that is, if we are not accepting the Vedas, Shastras, and the scriptures, that is also in a way we are leading to indirect knowledge, following the other things, mundane things?
Yeah, and we can also use parts of the scripture, right? We may not wholly accept, but we accept certain portion, and that can also be indirect.
Yes,
So we take something from the scripture, and instead of accepting it holistically, we speculate on it, and then we build, our own assumptions on it, and then assume that, okay, this is how the absolute nature of the truth must be.
and the nature of the truth or absolute truth, we only our acharyas and the gurujans gives us that knowledge, no, Prabhuji. Instead
Yes.
of going here and there and here and things, we accept the things what our guru and acharyas give us and the shastra give us. I
Yes.
make it simple like that. Why do you want to jump any other thing, Prabhuji? No?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So thank you very much for sharing that. Okay, so this is the sum with potency. Now, the next portion is about the position of Srimati Radharani and how she expands the pleasure of Krishna. So before we go into that, do you have any questions on this, what we've discussed so far? Sorry if some of it is little, there are many, there are many difficult statements in the purport, sometimes not easy to understand. But the essence is that the samvit potency is the way that the Lord, that's his knowledge potency. That's how the Lord knows us, and and his creation, everything. It's his own potency, and this is also how we get to know him, by the help of this potency, the samvit potency, which is ultimately, this is direct knowledge. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Yes, sir. But it's echoing a lot. So anyway, we move on, and then when you're clear, then we can try and answer your question. Who would like to read verse number 68?
Can I, Prabhuji?
Yes, please. Yes.
Ladinara sar prema prema sar bhava bhavera parama kashta nama mahabhava.
Read the translation as well.
The essence of the Hladini potency is love of God. The essence of love of God is emotion, bhava, and the ultimate development of emotion is mahabhava.
Okay. Thank you. Can you read this one as well? 69.
Yes. महाभाव श्री राधा ठाकुरानी सर्व गुण खानी कृष्ण कांत शिरोमानी. Sri Radha Thakurani is the embodiment of Mahabhav. She is the repository of all good qualities and the crest jewel amongst all the lovely consorts of Lord Krishna.
Who wants to read this verse, number 70? So we'll read the verses and then I will explain the points.
Prabhuji, may I?
Yes, please.
রাধিকা সর্বসাধিকা মহাভাব স্বরূপেয়ং গুণৈরতিবরীয়সী. Of those two gopis, Radharani and Chandravali, Srimati Radharani is superior in all respects. She is embodiment of Mahabhava and she suppresses all in good qualities.
Yes, and she surpasses.
Surpasses. She surpasses all in good qualities.
Yes. Thank you, Madhu. Who wants to read this verse? 71.
प्रभुजी मैं पढ़ती हूँ. कृष्ण प्रेम भाविता यारा चितेंद्रिय काया कृष्ण निज शक्ति राधा श्रीधारा सहाया. Her mind, senses and body are steeped in love for Krishna. She is Krishna's own energy and she helps him in his pastimes.
Thank you. So who wants to read this one from Brahma Samhita?
Should I approach? Or
Anybody else? Yes, Navanita Mataji, please read this verse. Can't hear you, a little louder.
नंद चिन्मय रसपति भाविताभे ताभिर्य एव निज रूपतया कलाभि गोलोक एव निवसत्यखिलात्मभूतो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who resides in his own realm, Golok, with Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure and who embodies the ecstatic potency Haladini. Their companions are her confidants, who embody extensions of her bodily form and who are imbued and permeated with ever blissful spiritual rasa. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. So in these verses that we just discussed, we get a sense of what is Radharani's position. And as stated in 68, that the essence of the Ladini Shakti is what? Prema. It's pure love. And the essence of Prema is what? It is Bhava. Bhava here is not the stage of Bhava, but it's referring to spiritual emotion. So when there's Prema, there is intense spiritual emotion. And the essence of Bhava is what? It's explained is the highest type of spiritual emotion is explained as Mahabhava. And the personification of the Mahabhava. So even within the Ladini potency, what's happening? There is Bhava, there's spiritual emotion, but then there is a further developed emotion or the highest level of spiritual emotion called Mahabhava. And who is the personification of that Mahabhava? That is Mahabhava Swarupa Sri Radha Thakurani. In verse number 69. And she is the Sarva Guna Khani. That means she is the mine of all good qualities. She's the treasure chest of all the good qualities and the crest jewel among all the lovely consorts of Lord Krishna. And then Kaviraj Goswami, he quoted that out of the two gopis, Radharani and Chandravali, who's superior? Srimati Radharani is superior in all respects. And her mind, senses, body are steeped in love for Krishna. She's Krishna's own energy and she helps him in his pastimes. And there are two very beautiful purports in this 69 and 71 that really Prabhupada gives such beautiful explanation. He says the essence of Ladini Shakti is love of Godhead. And the essence of love of Godhead is bhava or transcendental sentiment. And the highest pitch of that bhava is called Mahabhava. And she is Radharani is the personified embodiment of these three aspects of transcendental consciousness. She is therefore the highest principle in love of Godhead and is the supreme lovable object of Sri Krishna. So beautifully Prabhupada has explained this. And he goes on to explain that Srimati Radharani is as fully spiritual as Krishna. She should not be considered in any way material. She's not like an ordinary woman or a special woman. No, she is as spiritual as Krishna. And Prabhupada explains that she is all spiritual and both her body and her mind are of the same spiritual embodiment. Because her body is spiritual, her senses are also spiritual. Thus, her body, mind, and senses fully shine in the love of Krishna. She is the personified Ladini Shakti, and therefore she is the only source of enjoyment for Sri Krishna. And Prabhupada makes this point again, that because Krishna is completely spiritual, he cannot enjoy anything internally that is different from him. Okay. So what is he going to enjoy? Who is he going to enjoy? So he is enjoying his own internal potency, whose personification is Srimati Radharani.
Radharani.
And Prabhupada writes so beautifully. He says that the Sandhini portion of Sri Krishna's internal potency. So what has created this form, right? So the Sandhini portion of Sri Krishna's internal potency has manifested the all-attractive form of Sri Krishna, right? This is what we discussed before. That Krishna's forms, paraphernalia, his parents, they are transformations of the Sandhini potency. And the same internal potency in the Ladini feature has presented Srimati Radharani. Okay? So Srimati Radharani is manifested from where?
Sandhini.
The Shakti. And Prabhupada writes, who's the attraction? Who? Radharani is the attraction for the all-attractive. So beautiful. I mean, Prabhupada's explaining, she is the attraction for the all-attractive. So just see, Krishna, he has to be attracted by something, right? He's a person. So how's he going to enjoy? How's he going to do his masti? And we all want to, have a great time. So how will he do it? He does it through his own internal potency. So this is the beauty of this this transcendental knowledge. And Prabhupada writes, no one can match Srimati Radharani in the transcendental pastimes of Sri Krishna. Okay. Now, the next few verses, so beautiful. So we will quickly recite these verses. Okay. How Radharani expands the happiness of Krishna, the joy of Krishna, the Leela. How does she expand that? Let's hear from Kaviraj Goswami. What's happening? Okay, 73. Who is going to now quickly? Anandini Radharana Mataji, you recite the next 3 verses.
Okay, thank you. Krishnera karaya yache rasa aswadana, krida rasa haya yache shuno vivarana. Now please listen to how Lord Krishna's consorts help him taste rasa and how they help in his pastimes.
Yes. Go ahead.
कृष्ण कांता गण देखि त्रिविधा प्रकार एक लक्ष्मी गणपुर पुरे महिषी गण आरा व्रज अंगाना रूप आर कांता गण सारा श्री राधिका हैते कांत गणेर विस्तार. The beloved consorts of Lord Krishna are of 3 kinds: the goddesses of fortune, the queens, and the milkmaids of Raja, who are the foremost of all. These consorts all proceed from Radhika.
Now the last one. Yes.
Avatari Krishna yache kare avatar amshina radha haite tena ganera vistara. Just as the fountainhead, Lord Krishna, is the cause of all incarnations, so Sri Radha is the cause of all these consorts.
Okay, who's going to read the next 3 verses?
May I?
Yes, I was going to say one Prabhuji has to volunteer, so you go ahead.
Bhavaganayena tanranga vibhuti bimba pratibimba rupa mahishratati. The goddess of fortune are partial manifestations of Srimati Radhika, and the queens are reflections of her image. Lakshmi Gana Tanra Vebha Vilasam Sarupa Mahisi Gana Vebha Prakasha Swarupa. The goddess of fortune are her plenary portions, and they display the form of Vebhav Vilas. The queens are of the nature of her Vebhav Prakash. Akara Swabhava Bheda Vraj Devi Gana Kaya Vyuha Rupa Tanra Rasera Karana. The Vraj Devis have diverse bodily features. They are her expansions and are the instruments of expanding rasa.
Okay, last 2. So last one, sorry, you go ahead. Do the last one.
Bahukanta vina nahe rasera ulasa Lila rasa haya lagi bhatuka prakasha bahuta prakasha. Without many consorts, there is not such exultation in rasa, Therefore, there are many manifestations of Srimati Radharani to assist in Lord's pastime. Very nice.
Sorry, one last, this is the last connected verse. We can stop here.
तारा मध्य व्रजे नाना भाव रस भेदे कृष्णा के करैया रसाधिका लीला स्वादे. Among them are various groups of concerts in Vraja who have varieties of sentiments and mellows. They help Lord Krishna taste all the sweetness of the rasa dance and other pastimes.
Okay, so who would like to share what they have heard? Any key points that you heard that struck you? What is being said here?
Prabhuji, one point was that goddess of fortune is partial expansion of Srimati Radharani, and all the Vraja gopis are minute expansion of Srimati Radharani.
Okay.
Something different.
Good. Any other devotees like to take a try?
May I, Prabhu?
Yes.
For the purpose of rasa and giving enjoyment to Krishna, so there are three different categories of what should I say, Ladani Shakti. So the one category is the goddess of fortune, the other one is the queens of Dwarka, and the third one is Vraja gopis. And there is a gradation that the gopis are the highest, and even within them there is also a lot of variety, and the essence is that all this variety should give enjoyment to Krishna.
Very nice. So, and who is the cause of these gopis?
Srimati Radharani.
Yeah.
Yes, Srimati Radharani. So just see how
To all the concerts.
yeah, all the concerts, the gopis, the queens, and
Everyone.
the Lakshmi Devis. So these three categories. And so what else did you hear here? What does this say? Anybody else apart from what is this verse saying?
So it is to give variety for the enjoyment of the Lord. So
yeah, so the Vraj Devis have diverse bodily features.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and this is the main point. Without many concerts, there is not such exaltation in Ras. So imagine if you were only interacting with one type of person, one nature. But when you interact with different types of spiritually evolved personalities, what does that do? Does it increase the enjoyment or does it decrease the enjoyment?
increase.
So this is how Radha Rani, she facilitates the enjoyment of Krishna. How does she do that? She expands herself into the queens, into Lakshmi Devi, into so many different gopis with different temperaments, with different bodily features, with different natures, with different ways they interact with Krishna. There are even within the gopis, there are different groups. So this is for what? What is this for? This is to facilitate and enhance Krishna's pleasure. And who's doing it? Who's doing it?
Srimati Radharani.
Yes. And who's Srimati Radha?
Krishna himself.
Yes, Krishna's internal potency.
Internal potency.
Internal.
So see how wonderfully Krishna keeps himself happy.
Yeah. That is why he is Atmaram. So
Yes. This is how he is Atmaram.
this is how it is.
It's like, it's totally mystical. It's just, I mean, just think like what's going on.
Prabhuji, this is a very asked question from people, that one side you say that Krishna is happy in himself, then he expands in so many forms to enjoy with other people. So people ask this question very often, but now, I mean, they don't know that it's Krishna only, Krishna's potency only that he's enjoying with. You don't
Yes.
need any material thing.
Yes. So with our material conditioning, we tend to think, material bodies, and we are infested with, lust. So then we equate Krishna's pastimes with, actually, Radharani is his feminine side. So sometimes ask, is God male or God female? What's the right answer? Is God male or God female?
Both.
Yeah, God is both.
Beyond male and female.
But he is transcendental male and he's transcendental female. He's both.
Yes.
This is the beauty of the all attractive Lord. He keeps himself entertained through his own potency. And his own potency is so expert that she is expanding to facilitate this enjoyment. Different rasas, different groups, one pulling Krishna's leg, one is very obedient. And then between them, there's rivalry. I mean, so much, ras is going on. So much pure transcendental exchanges of love are going on. And this is through Krishna's own internal potency. So this is the main thing. See, when we get this knowledge, it is so enlightening. We get a like a deep sense of, okay, Krishna's enjoying with Radharani, but who is that? That's his own internal potency. It's not some mundane woman, standing with him. And it is our, ignorance. It's our, diseased condition that we can't understand these things. And honestly, it takes spiritual, like Prabhupada says, you can only understand this through seva. These deep spiritual truths, you can't just read and understand these things. To appreciate this, you need a lot of purity to understand. This is amazing, revelation, that we are being given in this chapter. Isn't it amazing? Those ones who have their cameras off, we need to hear from you something on how are you responding to all this knowledge that is being shared by Kaviraj Goswami. Vishaka Mataji, you're actually looking like Krishna's little devotee. Your picture is looking really small. Your name is written Krishna's little devotees. So you're also looking like Krishna's little devotee in the picture.
I was actually busy writing, so I couldn't participate. Every time you would ask, it took me some time to arrange my books, put my pen down. Tab tak koi aur bolta tha. But
now's your chance.
so no, it's already been spoken by all these very wonderful devotees. But yes, the whole conclusion is in verse 80, that without many consorts, there is no such exaltation in rasa. And therefore, he has so many manifestations in his past. That's the conclusion of it. And therefore it's also eternal, because there's no limit to her expansions, and they are conjuring up newer and newer pastimes. And I guess they're also expanding into newer and newer expansions.
Yes, right.
And it's so nice to have those verses now. Finally, we have been hearing this for so many years, and we actually have these verses now to meditate upon, memorize, quote, and
yes, these are wonderful verses. These are super I mean, sweet and very exalted verses, of the highest category of spiritual knowledge that we can assimilate. Yes, Saurabh Prabhu, how was it?
So it was, well, to be very frank, at the start, it was quite confusing. As usual, I start slow. So when it came to Sachidanand and then Aladini Shakti and then Samvit and Sandhini, till there I was quite lost. And then after that, when the pace started, it was very beautifully concluded that how Krishna expands himself and into Aladini Shakti to take the rasa, and then that Aladini Shakti expands further to give further rasa, and then it concludes that it makes all sense that why it is being done and what these rasas are for. So how Krishna uh, is Atmaram trying to enjoy, or not trying, but he is enjoying within himself, and we think that what he is doing.
Yes, wonderful. Yeah, in the beginning, all to understand the potency and all the philosophical points that Prabhupada makes, sometimes it's difficult to understand. So, but if you're clear, these three potencies, what is Shuddha Sattva? Shuddha Sattva is when all these three potencies come together, and it is a pure state of existence, spiritual state of existence that Krishna resides within. And his associates, and all his exchanges are within that pure state. So, and it has nothing to do with material, the modes of material nature, material tendency. It's purely spiritual. Okay. Thank you all very much. Anyone else before we conclude for the day? Any questions, any thoughts? Rasikesha Prabhu, Param Kishore Prabhu, Vishnu Charan Prabhu, Ashish Prabhu, anything you'd like to say? Suita Mataji? Okay, so we
Hare
will.
Krishna Prabhu. Wonderful class. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
I should say wonderful depiction of different energies. And the more we read, the more we get curious and more excited to know about all this. And Haladi Shakti and the further expansion, it's very beautiful. And hearing from your mouth, it appears more sweet. So thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for taking us on this sweet ride.
So, yes, we are very grateful to Kaviraj Goswami and Srila Prabhupada for sharing this most exalted wisdom. So, Nandini Rupa Mataji, you have appeared. You want to say anything? Okay, so thank you all. Radha Surabhini Mataji, aap bhi chup rahe. Want to say anything?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna.
I was just thinking that in between you asked the question that if we, Krishna gets so many, matlab, to enjoy with so many energies, and then in between you were asking that we also get bored with only one type of person, so we also need. But I was like, I guess we'll not be able to handle so many people. So it's only Krishna who can handle so many energies, so many gopis.
Yeah, definitely. We can't even think of that. In the material world, my God, नहीं एक ही nature हो तो सही है. ज़्यादा complicate नहीं करना है life को. Oneness is easier to handle than variety. So, yes, Harsh Prabhu, you want to say anything? Param Kishore Prabhu, you have your hand raised. Harsh Prabhu?
Prabhuji, it's been very enlightening, this class. So thank you very much. I'm getting to know more and more in depth now. I mean, this is first time I'm attending any class, so it's really, really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes. So there's going to be like really amazing information that will come. Like this is just we are not even we are 1/3 through the chapter, and we haven't even gotten to the first reason why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes. So, Param Kishore Prabhu, you had your hand raised. Do you want to say anything? Okay. All right. Thank you all very much for joining today. And yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Dhanyavad to everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.